not believe Trump was president. I mean, everybody thought it was a joke as him running for president. I don't know, it's just, I'm very confused still about it.
For me personally, I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked that he was elected. Of course, I mean, I would never vote for him. I think he stands for horrifying things, but I was not shocked because I've lived many places, and I know the type of people that live in those places, and I'm aware of what's going on in the country. As Portlanders or PDX people, we do live in a very sheltered bubble of beliefs. We like to think of ourselves as very progressive, which sometimes is not always true, but I do think that we were very sheltered in our views and caught off guard from the election because of our lack of awareness from the rest of the world, or the rest of the country.
It was not how I thought it would go down. It was kind of hard for me to process what had happened. I was really upset, and I don't know, I just felt kind of hopeless, like Tuesday night and waking up Wednesday, and like, was that a nightmare? No, that's reality now.
Kind of scared, a little curious how things are gonna go, but I'm scared for my mom because she doesn't have her U.S. citizen. It kind of sucks, but still, she won't go anywhere. But just the feeling of her being a minority in this world in America kind of like puts her down. But she's strong. I love her, and I think I'm curious because when things like gang violence and crimes and tragic events happen, I wonder how Donald Trump is going to react to those things and to those occurrences. I feel like he's a little immature, and his opinion just gets people heated and not connected like Obama does. I think Obama is really noble, and how he makes people come together as one is really what this nation needs. But I don't know. We'll see.
So when I was really confused about 97 at first because it seemed like the commercials were saying like exactly opposite things about the same measure. But when I looked into it, and like in the voters pamphlet, it listed what companies were for and against it, and all the companies that were against it were like really big national companies. I can't really remember any off the top of my head, but I think like Comcast and like different like gasoline companies. And I looked up the companies that were in support of 97, and it was a lot of like Oregon-based local companies. And so I voted for 97, and I think it's kind of sad that it didn't pass because measures 98 and 99 passed, but 98 is like an unfunded measure. So I feel like if 97 had passed, then we could have funded 98, which was for like career and schooling.
I voted no for Measure 97 because it was kind of suspect. There was a lot of like good values about how it would support education and like hospitality. I don't know, like hospitals and stuff. But I don't know. There's some revenue that would be the money wouldn't be like for sure that would go to all of these things that they projected. And that many, like, the projected amount was like 25 million revenue, and then on the bottom it said may not be met or something like that. So they weren't sure that it would be like met that certain amount of money to give into these places or things. So I thought it was like really scary and like suspect how we're just gonna take a plan on something, but we're not really sure about it. But yeah. Okay.
I think this is a really good idea because sadly with money there's power, and I think a lot of the times, maybe not in elections we have recently seen, but a lot of the times the more money a campaign has, the more chance it has to succeed. And this is sad in a way because a lot of people or a lot of campaigns, even though they have a better idea, just because they don't have as much funding means that they don't get as much supporters. So I do think it's a good idea to limit the amount of money some people get to donate to certain campaigns or politicians, so that there is a level playing field almost, in a sense, to where it will be able to reach all crowds.
I think that's a good idea, but there should also be limits on it because people can try to take advantage of what the right that they have.
Yeah. And I think that they need to be like preserving like that sort of stuff also.
The rights to hunt. I guess it's good and bad. There are families who need to hunt for their food and some don't. I think personally, if you have to hunt, but if you don't do it. I think it's really bad for our environment and for our species because some species are like dying off, and also like the bears need food and stuff like that. So it's good and bad.
Okay, from this point of view, I'm a little biased because I do work in animal rights. For me, I think this is a tad bit ridiculous because we live in America. If we lived in another country where they may have different situations than us, and that was what they were limited to, then that might be okay to make it a constitutional right for America. We have plenty, as a whole, I'm not going to say all parts of America, but as America as a whole, United States of America, we have very plentiful supplies to where we would not need to hunt, fish, any of those things and kill animals for our need, because it's more of a sport, not as a way of getting food, especially in this country. And I think it's ridiculous that it was made a constitutional right just because it's unethical. Okay, I think this is a really good idea, and I think that, permanently this becomes bad, but it would have helped in our election that just happened, because it is allowing to see what you would have voted for first and then below that. So I know in Portland anyways that would have really helped, or in the election as a whole, and I think this is a really good idea because it doesn't limit yourself to just one choice. And I think that's what is the downfall to a lot of elections, because like we saw in this election, it was either one or the other, and it was completely polarizing. And if it was rated in a different thing, especially with the popular vote, I think that it would have had a really different outcome and impact.
Cool. That's actually really cool. I think that gives a lot of value to people and to candidates, not just looking at one or two. You can have an independent vote on whoever, and can provide probably more than what this election had to provide. Choices are probably going to be better for Maine than for us or something. Yeah.
I think a soda tax is a pretty good idea. Obviously it's everyone's choice for what they want to put in their body, but I think a lot of people, without thinking about it, eat a lot of unhealthy foods, and soda has so much sugar and just a lot of bad things besides that. And so I think taxing soda or making it more expensive would have been a good thing, especially because foods like sodas and candy bars and really cheap fast food, it's a lot easier to pay for that than for healthy foods and smoothies, healthy drinks. So I think making soda more expensive would have encouraged people to buy healthier foods, or just skip the soda and go for water. So I think it's a good idea that they passed those.
Okay, I think that was kind of weird, but I know that soda isn't the best for you, so maybe that's a good thing. So it will reduce people consuming it. But then also I feel like it is kind of like a right to like be able to eat or drink what you want to. Yeah.
Wow, they're taxing soda now. That's a little weird. I like Sprite. I don't like other ones though, but I don't think you should tax Sprite because that's really good and cheap. Like sometimes when I need a good drink, I just grab a Sprite and it's cold.
It did not pass.
Oh my god. How could that not pass? Okay, that one makes me a little mad. I do think this is going to have negative impacts because of recent politicians who were just elected who do not believe in climate change, who do not support the progress of stopping climate change or restricting it. So I think this was a very important law or act, and the fact that it didn't get put through when it is something that is not even looking out for ourselves as a country, but looking out for ourselves as a whole, as the earth, looking out for other countries, it's kind of gross, disgusting to me, the fact that we are putting money for the health of our world and of our country and as our people as a whole is kind of saddening to me. I
voted yes for that in econ class because we had a presentation due for that. It was in Mr. Tree's eyes, shout out to the boy, because he's really cool. But also I voted yes because it was a great plan. I thought it was taxing on carbon emissions, which also gave money to government. It gave a lot of money to government, but while still lowering emissions, and which lowered greenhouse gases, and which can later on benefit global warming and climate change and stuff like that.
I think that like that is kind of unfortunate because we're trying to limit our CO2 emissions, and by that not passing, that's kind of one step farther away from that goal.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I want to make sure that as a community, trying to obtain unity, we need to be aware of what's going around us in the country. And I think that was a big downfall on what happened in Portland, is we were not as aware of what was going on around us and the people that we are surrounded by in the country and even in the state. So in order to obtain unity and to bring together as a whole in a community, we have to be aware of what other people's opinions